Hi everyone, it's Miss Ship. Sorry I'm not there today. I'm stuck at home with the COVID. Since we're coming up on the end of the bundle, I didn't really want to not move on. And I think that we can do this. So we're going to talk today about absolute value functions. And we're going to go over some basics and some characteristics today. And your assignment is going to be a quizzes. And then tomorrow we will do some graphing. And then I will be back Thursday. And I will probably ask you guys tomorrow how things are going and how you feel about stuff. And then I'll decide if we're going to move on Thursday or not. All right, so Blue Note Guide if you don't have it. Phones down, earbuds out. Remember, absolute value of a number is the distance of that number from 0 on the number line. The distance is always positive. Therefore, the absolute value of a number is always positive. So 3 and -3 are going to have the same absolute value. 5 and -5 are going to have the same absolute value because they're both 5 units away from 0 on the number line. The absolute value of 0 is 0. That's one of those things that math just says so. So we're like, okay, math. Just as the absolute value of x is its distance from 0, the absolute value of f of x is the distance from the line x equals 0 for each value of f of x. The absolute value function forms a V-shaped graph. This is because it is actually made up of 2 separate linear functions. Absolute value graph is actually what is called a piecewise function, which means it's defined differently on different parts of the domain. The most basic absolute value function is called the parent function. Y equals the absolute value of x is the parent function, and it's made up of the lines y equals x and y equals -x. So we'll highlight y equals x in pink here, and we'll do y equals -x in blue. Okay. So this is an even function. We talked about that. You can see that it folds in half over the y-axis. The domain is going to be all real numbers from -infinity all the way to +infinity. And then for the parent function, the range is 0 to infinity. Remember, range, we go bottom to top. So the first value is 0. The first y value is 0. It's included, so it has a square bracket. And then there's your end behavior. As x goes to -infinity, y goes to +infinity. As x goes to infinity, y goes to infinity. So that would be an up and up end behavior that we talked about. Okay. Characteristics of absolute value functions. The axis of symmetry is the invisible line running through the center of the graph. If you think back to geometry, it's actually an axis of reflection. Okay, so this is the line that we can fold this graph over and the 2 sides will match up. The vertex is the point of the V-shaped graph. The vertex is going to be either a minimum or a maximum. The axis of symmetry always, always, always goes through the vertex. They share an x value. Analyzing an absolute value function. Standard algebraic form of an absolute value function tells you a lot about the graph. F of x equals a times the absolute value of x minus h plus k. The vertex is negative h comma k. It's a point, and you're going to change the sign on h and keep the sign on k. So change the sign on h. That's the negative h. And you're going to keep the sign on k. The axis of symmetry is then, remember the axis of symmetry always goes through the vertex. So they share an x value. Okay. A out front is the slope of the sides of the V. The slope of the sides. And that'll make a little bit more sense tomorrow when we start graphing. If A is negative, the graph will open down. If A is positive, the graph will open up. Just like a parabola. Let's write that. Just like parabola. Okay. Remember that guy? He was funny. Okay. Analyzing an absolute value function. Using the function given, find the pieces of the function. So the vertex. So first of all, it might be helpful for you to write the standard algebraic form. I could have done that in a better color. Let's do that in a better color so you can see it. I bet yellow would work. So y equals a x minus h plus k. Doing that always really helps me identify what's going on. So our vertex is going to be the opposite of h. So if h is positive 9, then my vertex is going to be negative 9. Change the sign on h, keep the sign on k. So my vertex is negative 9, negative 1. And then I remember that Miss Ship said the axis of symmetry always goes through the vertex, and they share an x value. If I ask you for the axis of symmetry and you do not write x equals, you will get it wrong. The axis of symmetry is the equation of a line. It is not a number. You must write x equals. Okay, if this opens up or down, I'm going to look at the sign of A. A here looks like it's 5/2. That looks positive, so that is going to open up. And the slope of the sides is going to be 5/2. Okay. Now let's do this one. I'm going to write that again. Y equals a x minus h plus k. Ooh, okay. We'll deal with it. So the vertex here, change the sign on h, keep the sign on k. There's no k. So what do I do? What number is there if we just don't write it when we're adding? Hopefully a couple of people said 0. Okay. And if it helps you for the equation you're working with to look like standard form, you are more than welcome to add in the +0 in your work. Okay. So the axis of symmetry comes from the x value of the vertex. I'm going to write x equals so I get my full credit. Opens up or down. I see here that my A is negative. That's going to be just like a parabola, down like a frown, a pointy frown this time. And the slope of the sides is 2/3. Then I know it's kind of confusing, but the negative doesn't really go with the slope of the sides. The negative tells you if it opens up or down, and then the fraction tells you the slope of the sides. Okay. Analyzing an absolute value function. So this time we're going to look at a graph and we're going to choose which of these equations matches the graph. So let's figure out some stuff about the graph first. Let's see. Here is the vertex. That looks like 2, 0. It opens up. And when I start from the vertex, I count up 1. Oops. Sorry guys. When I start from the vertex, I'm going to count up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1 on both sides. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So my A equals 1/1. So now I'm going to take that information and go look at my options. So let's see. If I wanted to put this in, let's say I wanted to put this in y equals ax minus h plus k. It looks here like my k is 0. And my h, my negative h is 2. And my a is 1/1. So I'm looking for the function so I changed the sign on 2, so it would be x minus 2 and then plus 0. So I'm going to look. Okay, they're all positive. They all have positive 1k. I'm going to pick C. There's my minus 2, changed the sign of h, plus 0, it's not written. So my answer is C. All right, one more, and then you guys have a quizzes assignment. So we're going to do the same thing we did on the last slide. We're going to look at our graph first and find the pieces. So I see our vertex. And it looks like it is -4, 2. And I'm going to count my slope. Down 1/1, down 1/1, down 1/1. So I have Okay, and that makes sense because my A is negative because my graph is opening down. So my A, oh my goodness, you guys. My A is going to be -1. And my axis of symmetry, oh, that's not what I need. I'm confused, you guys. What were we talking about here? What did we do on the last one? Opens up. Okay, opens down. We talked about that. All right, so let's put this in. Y equals A, x minus h, absolute value, plus k. So here's my -h. I switched the sign on k, or switched the sign on h, sorry. Oops, that's not right. I keep the sign on k, and then a is my -1. So let's plug that all in. F of x equals -1 x plus 4, because I changed the sign when I put it in the vertex, and then I kept the sign of k. So B and C do not have negatives out front, and it looks like A is the one I am looking for. Okay, so your assignment is on quizzes. You can do it as many times as you'd like to get the grade you would like. It's not long. I will make you guys another video tomorrow taking you through a couple of graphing problems, and then I'll probably give you a Google form to see how you're doing with it. And then I will see you guys on Thursday. I'm well enough to answer Canvas inbox messages, so you can message me if you have questions. All right. I'll talk to you in the video tomorrow. Bye, guys.